another little trick that we can do with text in Illustrator, and if you type text portrait, that's kind of what I'm going to teach you right now. How do I look at this beautiful one? How do you basically divide your path and then fill them, so create an image in which each path has a piece of type in it. Another example is this one. So that's what I'm going to show you next. What I did in Illustrator, this is actually another technique that I was looking at, but what I'm teaching you today is how to take this hand that I traced in Illustrator, divide it into a bunch of pieces, and these are simple lines that I drew on top of the hand, and then in each of these pieces you put text. I'm going to give just one example with the word hello that is sitting right here. So what do I have here? I have an image I grabbed from the internet that I traced, the hand, oops, right here, and these lines on top. So what I'm going to do is, first and foremost, I'm going to turn this off. I don't need it anymore. I need to select all this, and I need to find a way to chop this up, because right now they're basically a hand, one continuous path, and a bunch of lines. But what I need to do is, each of these needs to be a separate area. So there are many ways to do it. The way I do it quickly is through Live Paint. So I select this whole thing, I do K to go into Live Paint, and I actually even fill it up, just so I know, indeed, these are all little pieces that then I can do something with. And you could skip filling it up and just, expand it and stuff, but I actually like to have something there that shows me that indeed is the way it's supposed to be. So you can see here I have all these beautiful little area that I just filled up. Cool. And you notice what happened here. In the layers, there was a path on this layer called hand, but it got chewed up when I did the Live Paint. It all landed on this same layer that now has the word hello and the Live Paint. In fact, I'm going to grab the word hello and I'm going to move it into a different layer because it doesn't really belong there. All right, so now I have the hand and the word hello separate. The hand I can see is a Live Paint. So what I need to do is I need to select it, and now I need to expand it. So I'm going to go under Object, Expand. And what this does, it breaks up the Live Paint actually into separate areas. Now, the only tricky part is right now, if you grab it, it's still one piece. And you wonder, why is that? Because it's all grouped. You can see it right in here, right? If you open it up, it says group. And inside the group, I can see that there is the colors and the hand. And what I really need is the colors. I don't really care about the hand. So I'm going to turn that off. And I'm going to grab this hand. And I need to make it into, first of all, I need to go up here and do Command Shift G to ungroup it. And now you see what happened, right? This hand on top that is turned off and I don't need it. But now I have all these as separate areas. You can see that. They're all individual pieces. To the point that if I grab it, oops, sorry, I just realized I must have missed the ungrouping part. Command Shift G. Sometimes you have to ungroup it multiple times, by the way. It's not that I missed it. I did it. But then you have to do it again sometimes. So that's a little bit tricky that you have to remember. But it's easy to see. You go into the sub-layer, and if you see group, it means you need to break it up. The reason why I don't need to break up this group is because that's the lines that I don't really care for. But I did need to break these into individual pieces. So now these are individual pieces. And what I can do is I can turn them. I'm actually going to switch the fill and the stroke. So I can turn them into, areas. Or I can even leave them as they are. And what I can do is I can take any area and I'm going to basically shift click this. I'm going to, click hello, click this object. So I need to have these two selected at the same time, right? So it doesn't matter which one you select first, but you need to select this and then shift click the text. Then you need to go under Object, Envelope Distort. And then you need to say Make, Envelope Distort, Make with Top Object. It requires selection of multiple objects. We did, right? Okay, let me see. So let me do this. That is kind of another thing that is important to do that I didn't really tell you. You need to make sure these are at the top. So, that's the problem. You guys see that hello is at the very top here? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually move this layer below, right here. And just to be sure, I'm going to also select all this by clicking on this little loop. And I'm going to go under Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. So that hand has to be to the front, in the front. I'm sorry I didn't tell you that, or I didn't think about it earlier. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to shift click these two. Now I'm going to go under Object, Envelope Distort, Make with Top Object. And now it goes where it's supposed to. So just remember what I forgot, that is, to make sure that the hand is on the top, both in the layer, but just to double check, go under Object, Arrange, and move to Front. So now I could type any other piece of text. I can go in here and say, okay, I'm going to type like lorem, for example, or whatever you want to type. Hello world. Actually, that is better than lorem. And by the way, you can choose whatever typeface right here. You select it, and I chose bell bottom laser just because it's really goofy, but you can choose whatever you want. And then you select that, you select whatever shape you want it to go to by shift clicking, and again you go under Object, Envelope Distort, Make with Top Object. Oh shoot, why is it not working? Because where did I put world, right? That's my mistake. Yep, it's actually world is on the same layer with the hand. So I'm actually going to move it to a different layer and put it below it. That's the only tricky part with this technique, is always remember to have that hand on the top part. I'm sorry about that. I always forget it, I have to admit. I don't do this very often, but it does happen that you can, do it at times. It does. Be careful about, like right now, world is very hard to read because the shape here was very triangular. So it's kind of much smarter to do it with, let me go back, better to do it with shapes in which you have kind of like a more horizontal, element right there, like the car, because it's going to be much easier to read it. But again, there are some people that actually do it like in the portrait. Obviously here it doesn't matter that it's readable. It's more about this kind of like, sometimes trendy, I have to say, but this kind of effect is like almost like a design effect. And sometimes it's really actually pretty cool, I have to say. And right here. Remember also what I taught earlier about how you can create a cutout with bitmaps. So what you can do is a clipping mask. So what you could do is do all this and then select all the text, like hello, do Command-Shift-O to turn it into outline, and then have a bitmap behind it. In fact, actually, let's do it really quickly. So let me get some bitmap. Let me go on a browser and type something like flowers. Grab a flower of some kind and bring it in. Like this would be fine. I'm going to control click in here and try to save it. Let me see if I can just copy and paste. You never know. It'd be pretty cool. There it is. Awesome. I'm going to actually obviously move it to the very bottom. Actually, I'm going to move it to what was hand, because right now is an empty layer. Okay, I'm going to delete world because it's bugging me. I'm going to do Command-Shift-O, right? So it turns this into outline. Command-Shift, oops. Just realizing that actually this won't allow me to do it because it's inside the envelope. So I wonder if I can do it in any other way. Let me see that. Okay, so let me go in the envelope, and if I go and expand it, okay, so I just expanded this. So now I'm going to go in and do the create outlines type. Create outlines. Da, da, da. Actually, it's grayed out. That means it's already an outline. So I'm going to now make it into a compound path. Object, compound path, make is, remember, Command 8. Perfect. It is now a can I select my ink for Command Shift O? Yep. So why is not allowing me to make it into compound path? Command 8. And then I'm going to shift click and Command 7. Yep, actually works. Awesome. So I was expecting the hello to turn empty because generally when you make a text outline into compound path, the fill disappears. But in this case, it doesn't. That is totally fine, as long as it is a compound path. How do I know that it is? Because when I shift click the image below and I do a clipping mask, that is, by the way, Command 7, it works. So that's another thing you can do, is fill it all with text. And in fact, let's do it again. Let's move a low, by the way, on the very top. Oops, sorry, take it back. The hand needs to be at the very top, right? Yep. So I'm going to actually make sure that it is on the very top by saying bring to front. Perfect. Then I'm going to choose a piece of this hand like this. I'm going to shift click world. I'm going to go under objects, envelope distort, and I'm going to make it with top object, so it's in there. And then again, I can bring in another flower, or even the same one, right? I can do Command V, and I have that flower again. I'm going to move it down again to hand. I'm going to grab that piece of text. I'm going to first expand it because it's part of the envelope. You remember earlier I figured that out a little bit on the fly. So I'm going to go and choose Object, Expand. Say OK. Then I'm going to do Command 8 to make a compound path, right? Do you remember that? And then I'm going to shift click the background image and do Command 7 to make a clipping mask. And boom, I have that done again. So that's a pretty cool technique. By the way, I just figured it out a little bit. I hadn't done it before, but I figured once I put all this text in there, what if I want to have a bitmap come through, just like I taught you in the other video? And that's kind of how it works. The trick is to remember to expand the envelope. Anyway, so we're learning a lot of things, and that's pretty cool. I just thought that might be interesting for you to know that this is something you can do. All right, guys. Ciao, ciao.